Have you ever felt like no matter what you achieve, something still feels missing, hollow, fake? What if I told you that you might be living someone else's life without even realizing it? This feeling is not random. It is the symptom of a deeper, almost invisible sickness, a life constructed piece by forces you never fully saw and yet silently obeyed. From childhood, you were handed a script. Your parents' hopes and fears, the ambitions of your teachers, the silent commands of your culture, all layered onto you before you could even question them. Without noticing, you began to mistake their voices for your own. Study hard, be polite, achieve, find a good job, make everyone proud. You followed the steps, you chased the gold stars and the compliments, you climbed the ladder, believing that somewhere at the top, fulfillment would be waiting. But when you arrived, you found nothing, just a hollow echo where meaning should have been, because it was never your ladder, never your destination, never your life. Carl Jung understood this tragedy deeply. He saw that most people are not living, they are performing, acting out roles they inherited without resistance, living lives scripted by fear, tradition, and unconscious expectations. And the most dangerous part, society congratulates you for it. You are praised for losing yourself. You are rewarded for betraying your real self in favor of a socially acceptable mask. This is why the feeling never leaves you, that gnawing emptiness, that quiet question. Is this all there is? It is your real self, buried beneath layers of programming, sending up flares, begging to be seen, begging to be remembered. But where exactly did you lose yourself? To find the answer, we must first uncover the silent prison you were trained to accept. From the moment you could walk and talk, you were being taught how to hide, how to sculpt your face, your voice, your thoughts into something palatable, something acceptable, something that would not disturb the fragile world around you. This is the persona, the mask you created not out of malice but out of survival. You learned that being too loud made adults frown, that being too sensitive made your peers mock you, that being too honest made people uncomfortable. So you adjusted. You smiled when you didn't feel happy. You agreed when you wanted to scream. You became what others needed you to be. At first, it was a small thing, a polite nod here, a swallowed truth there, but over time the mask grew heavier. It fused with your skin, until one day you could no longer tell where the mask ended, and you began. You act differently at work, online, around your own family. You present curated versions of yourself depending on who you are with. And each time you do, a little more of your real self drifts further out of reach. Carl Jung warned of this silent death. He knew that the persona, while necessary for social life, becomes deadly when mistaken for the true self. When you live only through the persona, you are not living at all. You are performing. You are playing a part in a play you never auditioned for. And here lies the true emotional cost. The mask may earn you approval, but it cannot bring you peace. It may win you acceptance, but it can never bring you fulfillment, because the real you, the one hidden underneath, remains unseen, unheard, unloved. The persona promises belonging, but it delivers alienation. A life where you are surrounded by people who love the mask, not the soul wearing it. But if what you show the world is not the real you, where did your true self go? The answer lies buried in a much darker place. If the persona is the mask you wear for the world, then the shadow is everything you were told to bury deep inside yourself. It is not just your anger or sadness. It is your creativity, your ambition, your wildness, your strength, all the parts of you that once burned brightly but made others uncomfortable. Every time you were told to calm down, be realistic, or know your place, a piece of your true self was pushed into the dark. But what is hidden does not die. It festers. The shadow leaks out in strange ways, in sudden anger you cannot explain, in the quiet resentment that poisons your relationships, in the deep dissatisfaction that haunts even your proudest moments. The more you repress it, the more it controls you. Carl Jung saw the shadow not as evil, but as a vital part of the psyche. The parts you were taught to fear are often the parts you need most. Your fire, your passion, your boundaries, your authenticity. When you ignore the shadow, you don't become good. You become hollow. You wear the mask and call it virtue. You live safely and call it happiness. You abandon yourself and call it maturity. But deep down, something in you knows the truth. Something restless, something furious, something heartbroken, and if you never confront it, it will devour you from within. You will sabotage your own success. You will destroy the relationships you value most. You will live a life that feels increasingly alien and suffocating without ever understanding why. You cannot outrun your shadow, you can only face it. But if your real power is trapped in the shadow, how do you face it without being destroyed? There is only one way, and it demands true courage. If something is awakening in you as you listen, you're already part of the few. Subscribe now and stay close to the journey. Thank you for being here. Beneath the persona you wear and the shadow you fear, there is something else. Something ancient, something unbreakable, something entirely your own. Carl Jung called it the self. The self is not a role you play. It is not a collection of traits you show off. It is the core fusion of everything you are, both conscious and unconscious, light and dark, seen and unseen. And finding it is not about building something new. It is about remembering something old, something that was always there, buried under the rubble of conditioning. This is the journey of individuation, the sacred, brutal process of becoming whole. Individuation demands that you stop borrowing your identity from the world around you. It demands that you stop asking for permission to exist. It demands that you integrate your persona, confront your shadow, and take ownership of everything you are, especially the parts you were taught to reject. Most people never make this journey. Why? Because it requires the death of the false self, the death of the comforting illusions, the death of the masks that won approval but never love. True freedom is impossible without this death. True freedom demands that you choose wholeness over acceptance, reality over comfort, depth over appearances. Few have the stomach for it, but those who do find something extraordinary on the other side. A self that no longer depends on validation to feel worthy. A mind that no longer fears judgment because it knows who it is. A soul that no longer begs for scraps of attention because it feeds on its own fire. But even if you want to find your true self, invisible forces are already shaping your mind from the inside. Can you recognize them before they control your fate? If you believe you are a blank canvas, untouched by ancient forces, you are already being played. Carl Jung discovered something far more unsettling. Much of what you think is you is actually shaped by invisible blueprints embedded deep within the collective unconscious. Patterns older than civilizations. Forces that whisper through dreams, myths, fears, and desires. He called them archetypes. The hero, the caregiver, the rebel, the wise old man. These are not just stories you see in books and movies. They are psychological skeletons shaping your instincts without you even realizing it. You have felt them pulling you. That sudden rush to protect someone, even at your own expense, the caregiver archetype. That urge to defy authority, to burn down the system, the rebel emerging. That aching to find a mentor, a guide, a figure who seems to carry ancient wisdom, the wise old man calling. But here's the hidden danger. When you over-identify with one archetype, you lose balance. You become trapped in a single role, a caricature of yourself. The hero who cannot admit weakness becomes reckless and self-destructive. The caregiver who refuses to care for themselves becomes bitter and hollow. The rebel without a cause turns self-sabotage into a religion. This imbalance feeds the persona and poisons the self. It creates a life that feels driven by forces you can't quite explain, by needs and fears that seem too large for the moment. If you do not see the archetypes operating within you, they do not disappear. They control you. They pull you toward relationships, careers, addictions, and choices that do not serve your real path, but serve the unconscious scripts written long before you were born. But what happens if you ignore all these forces? If you cling to the mask and flee from your real self? The cost is devastating. You can run from yourself for years, decades even. You can build careers, marriages, social circles, all carefully curated versions of yourself wrapped in beautiful masks. You can climb mountains of achievement, chase applause, and drown in distractions. But the shadow does not forget. And the price of ignoring your real self is not paid in public disasters. It is paid in silent, private collapse. Carl Jung warned that the soul will not tolerate betrayal forever. When you refuse the journey of individuation, the sacred confrontation with your true self, the psyche rebels. First come the whispers, a low, persistent dissatisfaction that no external success can silence. A gnawing resentment, even toward people you should love. A hunger for something, anything, that feels real. If you continue to ignore these signs, the collapse accelerates. Anxiety begins to eat the edges of your mind. Resentment metastasizes into cynicism. Depression, like a heavy fog, begins to smother every part of your existence. Existential dread seeps into everything. Even moments that should bring joy feel muted, hollow, tinged with bitterness. You start to sense it. The life you built is a cage, a gilded, polished, socially approved prison, and you are the prisoner. This is the fate of those who cling desperately to the persona and refuse to integrate the shadow. They become strangers to themselves, actors in a play they never truly chose. And yet, most terrifying of all, they become comfortable there. They convince themselves that this slow death is normal, that this is just how life is. But it is not life. It is survival without authenticity, and it rots the soul from the inside out. But if the consequences of staying lost are so high, what would it actually feel like to finally live without the masks? To stand in your real power, untouched by the scripts others tried to write for you? What awakens when the false life finally dies? Imagine a life where you no longer wake up wondering who you have to be today. Imagine a mind that no longer fragments itself to fit into roles and expectations that feel like chains. When you step into your true self, something extraordinary happens. You stop living for approval. You stop needing validation like a starving person craves crumbs. You stop explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you anyway. Carl Jung called this the beginning of real freedom, when your internal compass becomes louder than the voices outside of you. And with that freedom comes an astonishing return. Creativity blooms where anxiety once grew. Strength arises where insecurity used to rule. A deep, almost sacred peace settles into the core of your being, immune to external chaos. When you reclaim your true self, you become unpredictable in the most powerful way. No one can use the old levers of guilt, shame, or fear to control you anymore. You move differently. You speak less, but your words carry more weight. You enter rooms with a quiet authority that does not beg to be noticed. And yet, it is. And something else happens too. Authenticity becomes a magnet. Real opportunities, real relationships, real meaning, they start to find you. Because the world responds to truth, even if it fears it. And when you live in truth, you become rare, and the rare are remembered. But how exactly do you begin this sacred journey? What is the first step toward reclaiming your real life? It starts deeper than you think. Deeper than motivation, deeper than self-help slogans. It starts in the unseen places, the uncomfortable moments where true transformation begins. You might think the first step toward reclaiming your true life is something grand, something explosive, but it is not. The first step is far quieter, far harder, because it requires brutal honesty with yourself. It begins with awareness. Awareness of the masks you wear. Awareness of the moments when you betray yourself just to be liked, just to keep the peace. Awareness of the small, almost invisible deaths you suffer every time you choose approval over authenticity. Carl Jung taught that individuation, the path to becoming a whole being, demands that you stop lying to yourself first. And this is not a single moment of awakening, it is a practice, a daily devotion to noticing. Notice when you say yes but mean no. Notice when you smile but feel resentment. Notice when you shrink yourself to fit into places that no longer deserve you. The sacred loneliness of self-discovery will come. It will shake you. It will whisper that you are alone now. But it will also whisper something else, something even more powerful. You are free. Small daily practices become the foundation. Moments of silence where you check in with your real feelings, choosing not to explain yourself when you know your truth is enough. Allowing discomfort to exist without rushing to erase it. Each act of authenticity, however small, weakens the false life you were trained to accept. Each boundary you set, each moment you refuse to betray yourself, strengthens the real you waiting underneath. But the journey does not end here. It is only beginning. And now, standing at the threshold, you must face the hardest question yet. Will you step into your real life or stay trapped forever? Right now, you are standing at a crossroads. On one side, the false life, comfortable, familiar, a mask that wins shallow approval but slowly rots your soul. On the other side, the true life, raw, uncertain, but the only path where you will ever truly belong to yourself. And the brutal truth is this: most people, even after glimpsing the truth, turn back. They prefer the numbness of the mask to the terror of freedom. Because choosing yourself means risking everything you were taught to believe. It means being misunderstood, even hated, by those who once called you family, friends, community. It means walking alone into parts of yourself no one else can map for you. But it also means finally breathing without guilt, laughing without permission, loving without chains, existing without apology. Carl Jung warned that individuation is not for the faint of heart. It is a radical act of inner revolution. It is a betrayal of all the false roles you were assigned, and a homecoming to the one identity that was truly yours all along. So now, the choice is yours. Live trapped inside a version of yourself that was never real, or walk the harder road, the lonelier road, the sacred road, and meet the real being you were always meant to be. If you have ever felt trapped inside a version of yourself that was not truly you, now is the moment to step out. Comment below, "I choose my real life." Let your decision be seen by yourself first. And if this journey speaks to something deep inside you, if you feel the call to keep going, then subscribe to the channel. The next video will take you even deeper into mastering the hidden forces that shape your mind and how to free yourself from them forever. Because the greatest revolution is not out there, it is within, and it begins the moment you choose yourself.